Hi, and welcome to the Eric Erb Show Live. You can find me online at theericerbshow.com and also find me on twitter.com/The Eric Erb Show, and else you can also find me on anchor.fm. That's anchor.fm, and you can follow me on anchor.fm/The Eric Erb Show Live. Anchor gives you the way to make your podcast for free. So those people out there wanting to try this, wanting to make a podcast and thinking about it, give it a shot. Anchor provides you all the free tools, and it's completely free, everything you need to get started. That's anchor.fm. Okay, let's get back to the news. This is something very controversial, obviously, on the other side of the world, namely the Middle East. I'm reading here on the news that the slap of the century, Palestinians slap President Trump's Middle East peace plan. A little bit of history between the Jews and the Arabs, or the Palestinians and the Jews, is that all the way through history, and this is just a fact. This is a scientific fact. This is a historical fact that the Arabs and Jews don't get along. Okay, I'm just going to say that. I know that this will be a very controversial podcast, I'm sure, but oh well. Arabs and Jews don't get along. They hate each other. The Arabs want to kill the Jews. They even have called the Jews all kinds of names, pigs, everything else. I've heard this with my own ears. So there's not a lot of love between the two. So I understand that, namely on the Arab side. They just do not like the Jews. Well, President Trump today unveiled his long-delayed this is the Middle East peace program. He happened to roll this out today to a pro-Israel audience there at the White House, and Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, was there, and he was by his side. And then turns out the Palestinians are going crazy. They took to social media. They're expressing outrage, and then on the proposal, they don't like the proposal. They've accused President Trump of being favored and biased towards Israel. And let me just interject something here. If you're surrounded by Arab countries, most people listening to this podcast, I'm sure, either don't care or just too damn lazy, okay? But when you're surrounded by enemies, and being, when I say enemies, people all the way around, and you're a little teeny tiny country of Israel, and you're in the Middle East, and nobody likes you, nobody loves you, nobody gives a shit. Everybody wants to blow your ass to smithereens, okay? I'm just going to say it. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Israel has to protect its citizens, just like President Trump has to, under the Constitution, protect its citizens here in the United States from any foreign or domestic enemies. This is Constitution, okay? Just like over there, they have in Israel, they have to protect Prime Minister Netanyahu has to protect his citizens. And when you're launching rockets, I've seen the videos, some fake, some real. A lot of them are real. Like I said, I have contacts and resources all around the world, and you see rockets going off, and this is terrorist organizations, and they're dropping bombs. I mean, it's just another day in Israel. They're dropping bombs. They're shooting rockets all into Israel. They explode. They're going to hurt people. They're going to kill people. Wouldn't you think that Israel has a damn right to protect itself? And the answer is fuck yeah. I'm just going to say that, okay? Fuck yeah, they have a right to protect themselves, okay? It's like this bullshit in this sham going on that the Palestinians want to claim back in 1967, the 7-Day War, that we want to go back to pre-boundaries dating before the war, 1967. Well, the bottom line is Israel got into a war and they cleaned the fucking clock, and Israel and Egypt, and that didn't work out so well. Okay, and so it's just like anything else in life. People don't learn things until they get hit in the head verbally, physically, or maybe you drop a damn bomb on them, because they don't realize and they have no common sense. They don't wake the fuck up. This war is not something new. This has been going on for decades and decades and decades and this has been going on back to, and most people don't believe in the Bible, I'm sure. You know, there's some that do, there's some that don't. You know, that's if you do, God bless you. If you don't, I'll pray for you, okay? But this has been going on for years and years, hundreds of years. But the real thing has come to light over the last 50 years or so. They can't get along, the Palestinians and the Jews. They won't get along. They don't ever want to get along. They want to annihilate you. So means that you have an enemy that is walking around town calling all Jewish people pigs. Means that you have an enemy like that literally right next door, right on your damn doorstep there, because is Israel and Jerusalem, the whole entire country of Israel is very, very tiny. Someday look on a map and you can see over in the Middle East how small it is. And when you're walking around out there and they're dropping bombs on you, no big fucking deal, right? Just boom, all the time. I mean, you're sort of cynical, if you will, towards other people, and especially kind of cynical towards your Arab neighbors. And there's not a lot of love between them. So you have to understand that Israel has to do what Israel has to do in order to protect the citizens and take care of themselves. Until there is any type of what I've seen here in the past 30 or 40 years, anytime they've tried to negotiate with the Palestinians, going way back to Yasser Arafat and before Yasser Arafat, I can remember that far back, believe it or not. You have a group, you have a culture that just wants the destruction for Israel. That's all they care about. We want all of Israel. We don't give a fuck how we're going to get all of Israel. We want to take it over. That's not how a peace process works. A peace process, number one, and I'm no expert, but number one, requires logical and reasonable sit down with a person and talk to the person. I mean, really talk to the person. Don't argue with the fucking person. Just talk to the person and say, okay, this is what I need. Okay. The Palestinians on their half, they need some peace there. They need some peace and quiet. They need some damn land. Okay. I got that. They think they own everything. They're full of shit. They don't own everything. You have to negotiate. There's your neighbor right across the border, right over the wall, known as Israel, okay? You have to sit down and you have to talk to your neighbor. You have to try to sit down and negotiate. The leaders have to sit down and try to negotiate with people. And while you're negotiating, say, okay, I'll give you this if you do this. There has to be compromise. And there hasn't been compromise from what I've seen on the Palestinian side. And when the Jews have compromised, the Palestinians can never, ever, ever seem to hold a truce. They can never even seem to hold a ceasefire. You always have Hezbollah. You have different facts and different groups coming in, and the Palestinians always point their finger. It's always everybody else but them. You have to sit down and you have to honestly want peace with a passion. And sometimes that means that you have to understand and sacrifice your selfish, greedy ass your plans and sacrifice them greedy plans and put your personal again, your aspects aside and do what's good for the country. Okay, JFK said it once before, ask not what you can do, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. John F. Kennedy. Okay, he was a hell of a man, a hell of a president at the time. So this is, I apply this same law and same philosophy to the Palestinian, and somebody will say, "Oh, Eric, you're full of shit. You don't understand this. You don't understand that, and you don't know what's going on." I do. I understand human nature. I understand the history. The history is absolutely it's filled with blood and death. I got that. It's been nothing but war going on for both countries. Okay, but you have to honestly sit down, and let's sit down as rational human beings, rational people, and discuss this. Take all these people that aren't decision makers. Okay, this is I'm going to tell you management 101, and somebody say, again, you're full of shit. No, you take all this bullshit, all these people that are saying, no, you got to do this, no, you got to do that, and think what is best for your people. Okay, Prime Minister Netanyahu does that all the time when he negotiates. Okay, this is what I'm willing to do on behalf of the people for my country, Israel, and that's the way it is. And Mahmoud Abbas, President Abbas, he has to do the same thing, but he's always having people whispering in his ear. He needs to do this. He needs to do that. And the Jews are stealing this. No, fuck that bullshit. Okay, just fuck that bullshit. Just sit down and just talk about it. Shove all of your flunkies, all of your handler, and I say this to President Netanyahu too, the Jew. I'm not just beating up on Palestinian. The President Netanyahu too, Prime Minister rather. Sit down, get rid of all them fucking flunkies, throw them out of the room. Just you sit down with Abbas, President Abbas. Sit down and have a one-on-one. Get them fucking retards out of the room. That's the problem. They're filling your head full of bullshit. Your handlers are filling your head full of bullshit. Sit down and honestly say, okay, here's this Jewish man sitting in front of me. How can I negotiate with him? How can I negotiate? He's going to speak Hebrew, the dialect that they probably have in common or whatever. Sit down and talk about it and say, okay, I'm willing to give you this if you're willing to do this. And let's sign some type of declaration. Again, I see it as you have third parties or you have interfering with the Palestinians. They're always wanting war. Well, I'm gonna just lay something on you for my listeners out there, and I apologize beforehand if I offend you. But if Israel wants to bomb the Palestinians to oblivion, they can do that in a split second. If they didn't want peace, they would totally annihilate and eliminate all of them. Israel has nukes, okay? I'm just going to tell you that. I mean, you can say what the hell you want, say I'm crazy. Israel has nukes. They could blow up half the fucking Middle East if they wanted to blow up half the fucking Middle East, okay? But they don't. They don't. They're a civilized country, and when you come to a civilized country, you have to respect one another, and that's what they're trying to do in dealing with the Palestinians. They're trying to deal with this in the most professional manner. And I'm not saying Israel's innocent. I've seen things where the soldiers sometime have went out there and abused Palestinian kids and people. I got that. I've seen both sides. I'm not just this podcast is going to sound like, oh, there you go, you're a Zionist, you're this, you're that. No, that's bullshit. I'm not. I've seen both sides. What I'm trying to hammer home is this can be done if there's enough media. Get them the fuck out of the room. Get your handlers out of the room. Get the idiots and assholes that are surrounding you, both gentlemen, Netanyahu and Abbas. Get them bastards out of the room, and just you and Netanyahu talk. Abbas and Netanyahu just talk about it and just sit down and try to work out real peace. I think that some type of middle ground at least could be accomplished, and I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. I'm not saying it's easy, because obviously it's not over the last 50, 60 years plus, going back to history. But I'm saying there's a possibility that maybe they could work out something that would be suitable for both countries, the Palestinians, to give them rights to exist, to coexist in peace. But in the same token, if you're going to throw fucking bombs over the damn fence and throw bottles and beer bottles and bombs at my soldiers and everything like that, that ain't peace. You understand what I'm saying? You got to stop that silly shit. You got to control your people. I don't care how fucking upset they are. You want peace. You have to think of something other than yourself. There has to be a bigger picture here. And this is what I'm not seeing. All there is just terrorism, terrorism, terrorism. And then you get the pictures, they don't say how many times they're bombing Israel, doing this, doing that. Then the media just covers Israel happened to shoot a kid that he has a hand grenade or something whipping over a fence, and then the kid gets shot. And then so that makes the news, and then Israel's all bad. You see what I'm saying? So there's both sides to a story. When you look at things, you have to analyze things very carefully before you run your mouth. In this particular case, there are no saints. There's just sinners, okay? There are no saints. There's just sinners. Both sides have fucked up. Now, both sides, Israel and Palestine, have both fucked up. They got to come to the table. And that's the only way. Again, I've just given you a couple thoughts, a couple ideas to whoever's listening to the podcast, but that's what's got to happen in order to at least start the peace process. You can't have the press interfering with everything. The media and the press, they fuck everything up. I mean, you guys got to see that out here. They just fuck everything up. They can't report things. They hype things one way. They slant things against Israel. They slant things against Palestine. It depends on the day, the year, the weather, all kinds of things. Whatever the narrative is, the media, they like to take a story and whatever's going to give them views on YouTube or views on the TV or whatever. This is all about. It's all about getting the big story and running with the big story. Well, guess what? This isn't a big story. This is a huge story, but it's time we cut the press out. You can't have a society that where the media, the press, and all aspects of that are working against you. It just does not work. It'll never work. And so this is Eric Erb from the Eric Erb Show Live. Let me know what you think about this podcast. I love all you listeners. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to support me, you can go to anchor.fm. That's anchor.fm / the Eric Erb Show Live. I'd love to have you guys come aboard. Any donations whatsoever is always greatly appreciated. I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. You can find me online at ericerbshow.com / Twitter, or else theericerbshow.com. And then, of course, you can always find me on anchor.fm, where this podcast is coming from. That's anchor.fm. And Anchor gives you the platform where you can make your free podcast. And Anchor provides you all the tools. You can submit your podcast to Spotify, to Apple iTunes. I mean, Anchor gives you everything. And it's all for free, folks. It's absolutely for free. So go to anchor.fm. That's anchor.fm. And you can find me on Anchor at anchor.fm / the Eric Erb Show. This is Eric Erb signing off.